Banjo-Kazooie then. Banjo-Kazooie Nuts And Bolts. Straight off the bat, I suppose I have to admit that I've never actually played any of the Banjo-Kazooies. Playing this in the order of GamePass, I apparently played this backwards. So this is the first game that I played, and apparently it's the fifth. I thought it was the third. It's the fifth. Released back in 2008. It actually looks amazing for 2008, but we'll get onto that in a second. It's a platformer of old. It's a good enough game. It's a cute enough game. There's not really much to hate. When it was out, I got a lot of plaudits, got a lot of good reviews, and you can really see why it's cute enough. It does have a little part of it getting a little bit too meta, a little bit too eye roll into the camera, a bit of wink wink, but yeah, you can look past it. Graphically, it looks amazing for its age. I would hesitate to say 9. It looks incredible. I was actually really quite taken aback because when you boot it up from Game Pass, and it shows you the 360 splash screen, you really think that it's just going to be another 360 game which hasn't really stood the test of time, but it does actually look really, really good. I was quite surprised. Yeah, it's really, really pleasant on the eyes. Gameplay. It follows you as both Banjo and Kazooie. They kind of come as a pair, don't they? So the gameplay itself follows specific vehicle parts where you have to build, update, change parts of your vehicle depending on what you got to do, depending on what parts that you find. There is some platforming traits that are still there, so still the jumping around, still doing the basics, but I say basics because the moves that were in the first few games have actually been removed and replaced by this vehicle side. As someone that went into this one first, okay, it's actually alright, it's not too bad, but I can see if you kind of grew up with the platforming and then went to the vehicle side, yeah, it might be a little bit jarring. Narrative. The narrative is, well, basically, this is where it gets a little bit meta. You have you're faced with the Lord of Games. It's like floating TV thing. It's basically whatever Reddit decides to be that day, where you get transported to what's known as Showdown Town, where you got to complete different, they say games, but it's kind of isn't, it kind of isn't. Just different levels. When I said different games, I was kind of expecting rip-offs of other games, so kind of like Metal Gear Solid and stuff, but maybe that would be a bit too meta and a bit too Saints Row-y, but whatever. Yeah, so you do different, you're in the Lord of Games as different games. Yeah, it's kind of quaint enough, but it's actually nothing too memorable. I think it's the main sort of building mechanic of the car that kind of takes away how memorable it is, but yeah, it's harmless. You do find that the main you have the main opening of the narrator sort of explaining what the game is, blah blah blah, and then when you get into it, it's text. It has the annoying Banjo-Kazooie thing of, I'm gonna have to do an impression here, aren't I? Of they don't actually have voices; they've just got sounds when they just talk, and it's very jarring, and I hate it beyond relief. I know it's easy to do. That's the reason it's done, but I hate it beyond relief. It's awful. Throughout the game, you'll be collecting different puzzle parts, jiggies, I think they're called. And the game, when you start off, the game says that, oh, we've collected these before. So it's kind of trying to be very meta and trying to go, oh, yeah, video games. And I feel like there's only so far that can get you before you go. You know you're doing the video game trope, but yet you're still doing it. And to me, it kind of gets a little bit old, a little bit quickly. Also, the hub world, you can get lost pretty easily. You can get, what am I supposed to do next? Where am I going next? Oh, I'm meant to go up this mountain. How do I get there? Not a clue. Well, let's kind of guess. Okay, well, I've driven down this road. Oh, okay, maybe I can go up this way. And it's a really arbitrary set of, this is how I'm meant to get up here, but figure out yourself. Not keen on that. I don't like hub worlds as it is. It really reminds me of Sonic Unleashed. And that no one should be reminded of Sonic Unleashed. The audio, yeah, it's okay. I'd say to give it a 7. Is what it is for a platformer. It has the sort of little music in the background, little musical cues. Jiggies make a little noise. The noises that when you're speaking to someone are okay. Yeah, it's a platformer. It's a kind of quaint, cute platformer. It just has the sort of the little platforming tropes. Nothing to argue about. Nothing bad. Technical, yeah. I mean, the building aspects work, but they're a little bit kind of, you look at it and just don't really understand why that works. Like, you'd slap on an engine on a vehicle, slap on something on a vehicle, and then it just works. Technically, as a game platformer, yeah, some of the platforms are a little bit difficult to kind of spatially aware. Some of them are a little bit difficult to figure out where you're actually meant to be jumping to. But it's not a broken game. It's actually quite well put together. It's not going to trouble you too much. You're not going to get stuck in too many places. It is possible to get stuck in like sort of holes and sort of little caverns, but it happens too far in between. So yeah, good enough to jump back to. Looks good enough. And if you wanted to go back on the series and thought that maybe it might be a bit jarring to look at because of how old it is, you're not going to be faced with that problem. So yeah, could be worth picking up, could be worth it. Oh hey, it's me again. Don't forget to give us a follow if you enjoyed what you saw, or if you enjoyed what this channel does bring to you. We've got targets we need to hit, and your clicks and your subscribes will really help us out. Also, don't forget to hit that little bell notification so you know when we've got a new video dropping. Thank you, and we'll see you in the next one.